later on. We are not gonna write down anything because Ina prepared some questions, very good ones. I liked the questions, and she said you were her favorite MC. So
Yeah, I
but
think
but
that
that's true.
will be MC after you. It is iššūkis,
It's a challenge.
challenge
Yeah,
for us.
No,
Thank you. That's very kind.
yeah.
That's very kind.
No,
I
no,
just
but-
like to have fun. I just like to have fun and make people feel like they're included and seen. I think that's it's a good job for an MC, right?
Yeah, great. So you were really one of the best, or the best. Who knows? So.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
we want to prepare, and my English not so well, so I want
So good.
not so good. I want to prepare.
Sure.
So we have some questions. Okay.
Shall I translate?
Yeah.
So asks, is there anything that happened when you worked with Zinzino that when you remember it now you laugh or you kind of smile?
Sure. So my experiences have mostly been positive here. I don't think I've had any negative experiences, but I think probably the one that would make me laugh most is the naivety of making the decision to start the pre-launch at the end of 2019, not knowing what was going to happen in 2020. And so it started to go through the roof, and then the pandemic hit. So maybe not the best possible timing, but that definitely I was a lot more stressed back then, but definitely makes me laugh now because that really showed that what we have really works. Because if we could pre-launch a market with limited compensation, limited products, and still grow exponentially, in a pandemic, well, then we can do anything. So maybe not so severe challenges these days with the price increases and those kinds of things. It's okay.
Okay.
Good. So
how many no you get at all?
You already have gotten until now. How many no's?
Oh, jeez.
For Zinzino.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I never count the no's. I know that there's some philosophies.
Yeah, approximately never. Because have you read the book Go for No?
I have.
Yeah.
And I don't like the book.
Yeah.
So I never recommend it. And that's a personal thing. And I understand the philosophy of moving through the no's to get to the yes.
Yeah.
What I was taught by a mentor years ago was that rather focus on how you limit the amount of no's you have in a row so that the yeses are quicker and more abundant. So I would say that in my personal sponsoring now, so if I'm not dealing with third-party people, I probably have a 80 to 90% success rate. And that's because I qualify people really, really, really well. So, people that have said no to me, I wouldn't even be able to put a number. I honestly don't know.
This is mean that this question not for you. So
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Because I want to know something interesting that then we introduce you. That will be or funny or interesting or
intriguing or something.
So I have many questions because I cannot imagine which one question will be about you.
By the way, how do you pre-qualify the contacts? That's not for MC job, but I wonder.
So the three things I'm trying to figure out right up front is, do they want to make a great deal of money for a specific reason? And are they prepared to make time available in what they're already doing to see those things realized? So my initial conversation along the lines would be, so, hey, Kesh, obviously we're going to get together and chat about a business. And, for me, hypothetically, if this had to work for you, what would you be looking to get out of it? So that answers the two questions. Do they have a need that they're looking to fulfill, whatever that may be? And, are they prepared? Or do they want to make a specific amount of money? Are they ambitious? I suppose that would be the thing. So when we get through that, and I've got a real hook, so you would say to me, well, Kirsten, yeah, I would like to create a replacement income for my wife so she doesn't have to work, and we can do this together full time. Okay, fantastic. So then I've got that hook into what it is. Then I ask one simple question, and that question is, okay, so Kesh, if getting your wife out of work is important enough for you, are you prepared to find time in what is an already busy schedule?
Okay.
And the answer to that will determine whether we have the next meeting. If they say, no, I'm really busy, I don't have time, I say, okay, Kesh, listen, if I can be blunt with you, if you don't have the space and the time, we can do nothing.
Yeah.
But if you say yes, I'm going to say, okay, well, Kesh, I'm going to remind you of this because things are going to get tight. We're going to get down to the pressure points, but I'm going to keep on reminding you why we're doing this is we're looking to create 6,000 euros a month in income to get your wife home from work so you guys can do this together. You can have a better family life. And I'm going to remind you when things get tough and things, become busy and when we're going to have to make some sacrifices, that's why we're doing what we're doing. Let's set up the next meeting so I can show you how we can get you where we're going. And that one little conversation prior to me sitting down with people has eradicated the large majority of people getting to the end of a presentation and saying, I don't have the time or I'm not prepared to do it.
Hey, I start regretting that I said that we will not put this on a YouTube or somewhere. so maybe we should.
That's it. Do what you need to do with it. No problem.
No, but if you are okay with that, then we will post it in our groups just as a conversation with you. Okay, great. Perfect. So next question.
Next question.
Amazing.
This may be
Which one is the next one?
ar tikrai čia apie jį bus?
Mm.
Nes aš kaip supratau, jis ir
Yeah.
greit pasirašė.
That was a funny question. Were you the partner who somebody had to talk into the business for a very long time or for a very short time?
In the beginning, I didn't want to do networking at all. So I tell the story that we went to this presentation. I'm a second generation networker. My mom created dramatic significance, but I was the kid that saw her sacrificing a lot to really create that significance for us as a family. And when you're a child, unfortunately, you think like a child. And so I only saw the sacrifice. What I didn't see was the payoff of what she was able to achieve as a single mom with 4 children. She did remarkable things for us. So when I got invited to this networking events to go and see it and be prospected, I said no for 6 months. And
it was their wives, right?
No, this is even worse. It was my mom and my stepdad who prospected us to come and take a look. Sam and I were married, and eventually what my dad did, and he phoned Sam instead of asking me. And so Sam said, yeah, of course we'll come and take a look, which was very frustrating for me. But we went to the presentation and, it all made sense. I mean, all those pieces kind of came together. I kind of understood that we needed to do this. The challenge was I was pretty arrogant at that point in my life, young, 20 something years old, making a great deal of money, 5 different businesses, driving a nice car. The finances weren't the need for us. It was time. It was the freedom to live life on our own terms, I think would be the biggest need that we had. But before I could say we need to do this, my wife said we need to do this. And so I just said, okay, well, you do it. And I wasn't interested, even though I did want to do it because I made a stupid decision that was emotional. And there was a lot of insecurity caught up in that and all those kinds of things, which is why we need to personally develop. But she made the decision that she'd kind of do it by herself. And it took me a couple of weeks, I think about 6 weeks, I may not have been really nice in the process of that, of those 6 weeks, but eventually I realized, okay, I was being an absolute moron through the situation. And yeah, the long and the short of it is 6 weeks later, I started building the business, and it took us a year to match the income that we were earning out of our 5 different companies at that time. We had an absolute meteoric rise in direct selling. And 2 years later, we shut down all of the businesses that we're running, and we've been full-time.
What were the businesses? What was...
we had a music business, so we ran a music school. We had a distribution company. I had a company that consulted to a big corporate. I had another. We owned a direct selling company in South Africa, which is still running today. So that's why I understand the corporate side as well as the field side. And what is the other one? Oh, we did manufacturing in the beauty space. Yeah.
Okay.
So very diverse, but things. I'm just one of those people that sees opportunity. It's been a gift that I got from my father, he could look at something, and where people only saw, challenges, he would find that one kind of golden thread in the haystack. And I've been able to see that, which is why I believe, we're with Zinzino.
But when you were invited to Zinzino, were you the one who somebody had to really work to get you in, or you were like, okay, let's do this?
Dave didn't prospect me.
He sent
Dave.
He sent you the test or something like that, right?
Yeah, I knew he was involved with the balance oil. I didn't know what it was, and I was looking for a solution. And I can't remember. I had reached out and said, "What's happening with this oil?" And he had said, "Okay, well, let me get some to you." And then the kind of story progressed from there. But I think I was the easiest person to get on board.
So you kind of invited yourself.
Yeah.
I actually had a case like that. My neighbor Jonas, who is now a big leader, one of the biggest leaders in my team, he was my neighbor, and he came to me and said, back then Zinzino had coffee machines, and he said, "What is this?" And I said, "This is a business that we are bringing to Lithuania." And he said, like, "May I participate?"
I love it.
So yes. it was and then he asked, "Hey, tell me about it." And I was just like a week in the business, and I was not able to do the presentation, and I was trained so that I would not do the presentation myself alone. So I said to him, "I have a partner in this, so can we meet my partner and talk, all three of us?"
I love it. Good training. Good training.
And he said, "Okay." And then I said, "So how about the time, actually?" And he says, "I'm traveling now for fishing to Norway." And then I said, "Okay, let's meet after you return." And now what happened, he traveled to Norway in the middle of nowhere to some kind of an island for fishing. And in the small house there was this same coffee machine. And and now he was convinced that this is probably a huge business if those coffee machines are in the middle of nowhere. So,
I love it.
I love it. When he returned, he was like already leaning over the table.
That's the best product placement you've ever had.
Yeah. So,
I love it.
Oh, you were one of those. Okay. Okay. So now, okay. So what was the story of the partner that you signed the fastest, and another story of you signing the partner the longest?
The longest one is probably the easiest one to share. So that's the longest I've seen in first contact to the person joining the business took me just over 2 years.
2 years. 2 years. Nice. I was recruiting her for 6 years. She started, then she quit, and then I was recruiting again for 6 years.
Well, it's good commitment, right?
And finally, he's must stay with me every day, and
I did oversell.
I'm sure.
Okay, so
yeah, good friend. Showed him what I was doing. We have a great trust relationship, and he just said to me, "Kirsten, I don't see it in my life right now." So I used one of the classic phrases we always taught, which is it no for now or no forever? He said, "No for now." I said, "Okay, well, I'm just going to keep on touching base with you. I'm going to call you, and you're going to know this is a business call. I'm not phoning as a mate to go and meet up for dinner or see you for a barbecue on the weekend." And I would call him. I can't even remember what the frequency was now. It was probably every 4 months or every 6 months. I would just touch base and say, "Hey, bud," I said I'd give you a call and follow up. Are you ready to get going? Or, and he had gone through a lot of tumultuous times, business times and family times. And eventually it got to the point where when I made the call, he answered and said, "Okay, I'm ready to get started," before I said anything. And he got into the business. It was a really cool experience that really shows that a lot of people will hear no and it's final, but they never ask, is that just situational? Is it because of the circumstance around you? And if you just ask that question, often what it does is it gets you to just put people into that loop. But then you've got to be really clinical with your follow-up. Because if you say, I'm going to touch base with you every 6 months to see if something's changed, or if you're in a different space, be that person that follows up effectively. And it eventually became a joke. I mean, he had it in his calendar. He knew when I'd be messaging him or phoning him, and I knew because it was in mine, and I'd get the pop-up, and it was great because I was just waiting for the day that he'd say yes. So 2 years, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phone calls and touch bases. I saw him a lot in between, and we never chatted about business. We chatted about it. I mean, he would ask how are things going, and I would do the same, but I never prospected him in between those times because I wanted to keep that balance right of friendship, which we had for 10 years before we had, we'd started doing business together. The shortest one is a couple that are crowns in our business now in Zinzino. They were with us in our previous company, and I made when the wife had started building, the husband had said he'd never do networking again. And she asked me to sit down with him, and I had a chat with him, and I just said to him, listen, I believe you've still got gas in the tank. You've got to believe that you do, but if you do believe that you do, I can promise you I'm not going to lie to you. I'll be 100% honest with you, and I'll work with you no matter what until we achieve what it is. So in our previous company, when we were making the decision to switch over to Zinzino, they had an existing business. They were on a journey to success. I was cautious about pulling them out of something that I wasn't 100% sure of yet. But they know me well. We spend a lot of time together. They're really, really good friends. And the wife would be messaging me, Kirsten, what are you doing? I know something's up. Let me know what it is. And I think they were worried we were just going to leave the networking industry at that point because we'd had a couple of kind of disillusionary moments with our previous company. But the long and the short of it is eventually I'd gone overseas. I'd met Orion, I'd met Dog. We had made a handshake agreement across a table at Globen that we were going to launch South Africa. They had followed through on everything that they said they were going to do. And so the day that I got back, I phoned them and I said, okay, guys, let's meet for coffee. We live about 2.5 hours apart. They drove in halfway. We drove in halfway. And I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to move companies. And they just stared at me and they said, what is it? I said, Amigas. And they must have thought I was absolutely nuts because there's a million Amigas on the market, right? I mean, that's the thing. And I explained the concept, and before I was even through, they had made the decision that they would come irrespective. And when we went Black Crown, I can tell you that was not as exciting a moment as seeing them go crown that month, because we had committed to seeing them through. And so they would never know, because I think I've only ever shared this once before, definitely not in a context like this. But on our dream board, we've never really chased ranks for ourselves in Zinzino. We've always known that if you build the people, the ranks will come. And maybe that's because we have created success before. We've walked the stages, we've done the traveling. But for me, the thing Orion said to us is, if you come to Zinzino, I promise you that your team will earn more than you've ever had your team earn before. And so that month, seeing them go to Crown, earning the Crown income, that was on my dream board, was taking them to Crown within their first year in the business. And it took us a little bit longer. We launched on the 9th of November. They qualified at Crown, I think, on the 24th of November. So a couple of days over 1 year. But that was the goal. And that was our entire goal in the team, was to see that couple achieve it. So that's a bit of a long answer to that story, but they were, when you build a relationship with people where you're honorable and you share in truth and you love and you care for genuinely, what happens is people want to continue working with you. And we're totally different. They're quite a bit older than what we are. They speak Afrikaans, so they're a different culture. Mm-hmm. But we're best of friends, and that's that would probably be my quickest. Even though I said Amigas, they were ready to go.
Cool.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not I already know the answer. He's asking if after you started with Zinzino, you have been to all the director trips or not all of them. So I bet you were on all of the director trips since you started.
Yeah, we qualified for all of them. We didn't do Canary Islands the first time because of COVID. And we're grateful that we didn't, because if we had have gone, we would have been locked out of our country for about 7 months. So that was a very good decision. That was in 2020. And then we didn't do Portugal, and I can't remember why. There was because we're moving countries. That's exactly why. So we couldn't be out of South Africa at that point. But other than that, every other one been to and will continue to be at.
That's so interesting, because when we came to Portugal, that's when we made the decision to return back here and live here.
Okay.
So,
oh wow.
So at the same moment when you were
maybe
changing
maybe a good thing that we didn't go. You could have had neighbors.
Well, that would have been fun. So
yeah, sure.
You know, if it's still a no, maybe it's a no for now.
Yeah. I love it. I'll put it up there on the dream board potentially.
I'll keep on calling you now. Come to listen.
Good.
Okay.
Uh,
Any motivational phrase that you love the most, or that you keep on telling people, or something like that?
Sure. I have two. My first one is a mantra that I have as part of my personal affirmations, and it's the number one thing I start off with in the morning. And it's a very big sweeping phrase, but it goes like this: every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. I apply that to my parenting. I apply that to my relationship with my wife. I apply that to my business building, to my personal development, to my admin skills, which are not my natural skill set. But every day, my jiu-jitsu, my judo, every day in every way, I just want to become better. I've lost that desire to become exponentially better, because I've realized in life that never happens. But if you can compound 1% a day, every time you train, you become 1% better, 1% stronger, 1% more agile, 1% more aware. In your business building, 1% better at closing, 1% better at making a contact, 1% better at inviting. What happens is you see those effects dramatically increased over a period of time. And people who chase big changes never see them through, because you can never maintain that metric. So there's number one: every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
By the way, about this phrase, you probably know where it is coming from, or
yeah,
no?
Yeah.
It was a doctor who gave this phrase to his patient. I don't know if he was the first one to use it, but every patient in his hospital or whatever had to say this many times per day, and this was the reason they got really better.
Yeah. Well, this was where I heard it from. So the first time I heard this phrase was Bob Proctor talking, sharing that story, of creating that. And if I remember correctly, the context was people who had been through traumatic injuries that were regaining use of limbs or regaining the ability to walk. And I thought that was such a powerful process. Where I also stole it a little bit from is a friend of mine called Mark McDonald. He's a very, very famous fitness guy. And he shares a story that he couldn't talk properly, and they weren't going to allow him to go to the next standard at school if he didn't get his verbal cues right. And so his dad said to him, just 1% a day. That's all we're focusing on. And so those two stories are very emotive for me. I mean, I know Mark well. He now speaks in front of people, tens of thousands of people on stages. He's on television all over the world. He's an amazing orator, because he just got 1% better every day, and he applies himself to it, which is such a cool concept. So two powerful stories, right? If somebody with no legs can do it, or somebody that's been paralyzed, or somebody who can't speak properly, man, what can we do with all the faculties that we've got if we just really invest in it? The second one is I would have to say this is my favorite, though. This comes from a mentor. I wish I could take it, but his name was Bo, and Bo was a big builder in Amway. And probably the guy I learned most from a leadership perspective. But he had this phrase, and I've stolen it. It's mine now. I'm only giving credit to him now, because I want you to understand it's not my great phraseology. But he said this. He said, and he talks about a story of, there is a bridge that will take you across to everything you've ever wanted. The problem is that bridge that you have to cross is everything that you don't want to do. Okay. And so then the phrase is, on the other side of everything you don't want to do lives everything you've ever wanted. And that is a mantra for me. So my kids know, if there's something tough, Dad, I don't want to go to training, I'm battling with this. Okay, guys, well, what is this? Well, this is what I don't want to do. What's on the other side of it? They know everything that I've ever wanted. Want to become a top ballerina? Well, you're going to have to push through the pain of your feet in point shoes. My son, you want to become a top jiu-jitsu practitioner? Well, you're going to have to push through when you're being absolutely slaughtered by other kids who are better than you now, but you will become better. But we always do the things we don't want to do, and that takes us to where we want to be. So I do believe in the philosophy that if you do the uncomfortable things enough, they do become comfortable. And I don't believe that's because they become easier. I believe that you become better when you stop making excuses for why you don't want to do it. Is making telephone calls hard? Sure. But can you become better at it? Of course you can. When you're better at it, it's not that hard, but that's just a skill set. It's the same as starting karate. It's the same as starting judo. It's the same as starting boxing. It's the same as changing your lifestyle from a weight gain perspective. It's hard, but once you've got it, it becomes easy. And that thing hasn't changed. Your perspective of it has changed. So every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And on the other side of everything that you don't want to do lives everything that you've ever wanted.
That's actually an upgrade for me, because in the past I used the phrase, that not the phrase, but the notion, the idea that if God wants to give you a gift, he packs it into a problem. So
Sure.
you have to unpack the problem so that you get to the gift. But
That's it, right?
it sounds even better across the bridge. Yeah. So
That's it.
good.
Okay.
Next.
This one.
So were you the one who was afraid of pyramids? Or were you the one who was a fan of pyramids? So you probably already told the story. You were afraid of pyramids.
Yeah, I never had a problem with the business model, right? I mean, I've always understood that pyramidal shape is corporate infrastructure. That's what it is. The context of a pyramid scheme, that's never scared me. I think I've realized mostly how people are, and I want to use the right phrase here, but just not critical thinking enough to understand the question that they're asking. So when I sit down with a top financier who says to me, okay, well, is this a pyramidal, income structure? I know they understand what they mean, but Joe Soap on the side of the street who says to me, oh, is this a pyramid scheme? That's never washed me. So that's never bothered me, but the industry did. And what challenged me about the industry was this brutal, sacrifice everything. And you'll have the balance later. And that was the kind of 1980s, 1990s Amway build. That was what was being taught from stage. You leave your kids, you do whatever, that just tell them it's going to happen. For me, what's been really redeeming is my kids being able to see that you can create significance, but the fact that they still come before the business, irrespective. If there's something that is important enough, I will miss a director trip to be at my daughter's ballet recital, because I don't know when there will be another one. But if we're going to plan a birthday party, I'm not going to put it on the day that we have, a Zinzino event, because that's movable. But there are some things that are immovable. So for me, it was that, and that's kind of the PTSD from my mom doing what she needed to do to kind of save the family. So we've just tried to do better. And I think as networkers, we've got that responsibility. We can't do what worked in the 80s. It doesn't work now. We have to evolve and become better, not making excuses for why people can't succeed, but at the same time, not allowing, lack of activity to be the reason, why we're not doing things. So yeah, pyramid doesn't bother me. I love asking, okay, so tell me what you mean by that. But now, listen, I know some people are going to hate this phrase and hate the statement. I never get asked, is this a pyramid scheme? Not once.
Yeah.
And I can say not once in maybe the last 10 or 15 years. And so some people would say to me, well, you're not prospecting enough. I've heard that from some people. And I would say, well, rubbish. No, I do a ton of meetings personally and into team. And the reason why I never get asked is because if you show the credibility of what you're involved with first, people don't run towards, is this something that's not credible? NASDAQ listed company, audited financials, independent lab results that are double blinded. You show me the potential for fraud in there. Is there? Very small percentage, but in reality, it's so well battened down. No one says, is that a pyramid scheme? Because it's a NASDAQ listed business. Yeah. Fully auditable and double-blinded results. So, for me, the thing is, if you're getting that a lot, you're not communicating what we have effectively.
So what we noticed, actually, what I noticed building the business, that those who were scared of pyramids themselves, they always got that question. And once we cured them from that, once we realized that they know the answer and they would never get this question anymore. So it's like subconsciously somehow they radiate that idea to others if they are afraid of it. So somehow they make the mask.
Yeah, right. I mean, but I suppose that's, you take a look at people that are desperate to build the business. They have to build it because they need to feed their kids. They pass on that feel of desperation, and people don't want to be involved with that. There's a challenge to that. I think it's the same with those kinds of things. Often what you fear, you put in front of you, and you're so worried about people asking those questions that you do manifest it in them, because you may even unsubconsciously, or no, not subconsciously, be putting phrases into your speech, be putting doubt into the way you're communicating things that get people to feel uneasy. And when people are uneasy, they ask questions to settle their uneasiness, right? So I think that principle translates and follows through the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question. So how would you describe what kind of a leader you are? Ooh, good one.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm a D-type personality, or a red. So when I take a look at that, and I use the disc system more than the colors because that's what I kind of grew up in and was trained in. So when I initially did my personality profiling, I was a high D, high I, very low S, and very low C, which meant I could be great and inspirational, but was pretty selfish, and I could be very direct and dominant. And I would go from being an I naturally to becoming a D under pressure, which is not a great leadership style. It's great to be up on stage. It's great to do the speaking. It's great to do the setting of vision. But my follow through was very, very bad. So over the years, I've really had to build a balance into understanding how to be more sincere, how to be. So if I say to you, you say, hey, Kirsten, we're going through a tough time as a family. And I would say, hey, Kesh, I'll keep you and your family in my thoughts and prayers. I could say that and then just move off and never remember that again. And that's a nice thing to say, and it is the right thing. But the follow through of that is that you actually do thoughtfully think about that person, phone up, how are things going, anything I can help with. And, I've actually been praying that there would be change in your family. But we hear people say that all the time. But, the sincerity is not there because we know that very few people follow through. It's a silly example, but that was a lot of where my leadership was. So great starting, very poor finishing. So a couple of things that have really had an impact on me was having good leaders and good mentors that could show me different portions of leadership. I've realized that there's no perfect leader. And although as a young, naive, up and coming networker, I wanted to have one mentor that was good at everything. There were some mentors that were great at finances, that were terrible at marriage. There's some mentors that were great at prospecting, but were terrible at following through. And so I started to pull these pieces together, and I realized the one thing that attracted me to these mentors more than anything was whether they were servant-hearted leaders or servant-driven leaders or not. And that's something I work really hard to do is lead from a place of serving. There's a great mantra in the Marines in the United States, which is never ask a man to do something. And obviously the context then was there were only men in the military, but never ask someone in your team to do something that you have not or are not prepared to do yourself. And that becomes example-driven leadership, visionary-led leadership. And so, if you had to say, what do I want to be? I would love to be somebody who's spoken about as a visionary leader who serves his team. That would be my ideal. Do I get it right all the time? No, but what I keep in the back of my mind consistently is that is the person that I want to become. And every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. And so I'm wanting to move those things. But what I think I do well is I keep vision in front of people. And this is something that I learned is you can't follow somebody who's not chasing a vision. They have to be moving and creating their own movements, and that creates a vortex behind. I actually do a teaching on visionary leadership that kind of typifies this, but people need to see that you need to lead. Even if you just get started, when you're on your way, you're doing the things, people will naturally fall in behind you and follow. And so being that visionary leader that leads by example and with a servant-hearted approach, if that could be written on my tombstone as my leadership, I'd be very, very happy with that. But yeah, that's the goal and the ambition, is to become that fully fledged leader.
Okay, thank you.
The next question is a simple one. Which one is your favorite Zinzino product?
Yeah, you're gonna laugh, but it was in this, and anybody who's watched this is gonna have seen me drinking it. The strawberry lean shake is without a doubt my favorite thing to consume that Zinzino manufactures.
Okay.
So I love it, but you can't get away from Viva is, in my opinion, is the most underrated technology that Zinzino has. It is so unbelievably powerful. Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Ina told she has a lot of people in her team who are really like fanatic about Viva. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, many people like Viva.
Nice.
Okay, so tell me the last one question.
No,
Yeah.
why the last today?
Yeah, the last today. Why are you in Zinzino? Why not in Amway?
Or in some other company?
Yeah, good question. And I think I can answer that in two ways. Firstly, I know, I love, and I trust Dave Ives. So the interesting thing is we had never met face to face in the first business that we were involved in together, where I was actually in his upline. I wasn't sponsored upline, but I was in volume upline. We worked together, and Dave and I hit it off like this. We went separate ways, and he just treated me with integrity. He didn't try to phone me and get me involved in every business he was involved in, and I didn't do the same. We just kind of kept, are you on your way? Bye-bye. We just kept that relationship. So for me, it was a safe place to make that decision for Dave. And I would even if Orion, now obviously Orion would never do this, but I use it as an example. But even if Orion had said, Kirsten, I'll sponsor you personally, I'll put you at the top of a new line, you can be our 4th star, and leg. No, it wouldn't have happened, because Dave was the connection point. And so the number one reason why I'm here is because of Dave Ives. The number 2 reason that we're here is because of Orion and Hilda. What I saw in them is what I've been looking for as an example of leadership in this industry for a long time. And not because they're so remarkably perfect, because they're not. And I know that they will have flaws, and they will be the first to admit that they have flaws, and those are identifiable. But what I saw in them was a great rounded philosophy of dealing with team that I hadn't seen in people before. And I love the picture of the couple building together, powerful in their own rights, but remarkably powerful together. That was very appealing to me, because it's often there is a male or there is a female that is the strong one, and there's kind of somebody tags along with. And them showing that picture that actually you can have 2 powerful individuals that do things remarkably differently. But the thing for me is character. So I learned a long time ago, it's the unseen things that you can't tangibly put your hands on that are the things that are most important. And in some of my honest, deep conversations with Orion, he shared things with me and been open about his life and spoken into my life in a way that I think a lot of leaders would be scared to, because what if I chase this guy off by being honest? And some of the conversations that started off with Kirsten, do you know what's really limiting your growth? I mean, that's not what anybody wants to hear, right? You always want to hear how well you're doing, how good you are, how great you're going to be. But a real mentor really comes alongside. So for me, it's the character, the integrity, their heart for people in the team. And I always share the story. One thing pushed us over the edge. We were standing waiting to come into the leadership diamond event at Globe in 2019. And I was getting grumpy, man. Everyone's in a queue and we're waiting, and like we're on the stairs. And I only realized when we got to the kind of crest of the stairs going into the auditorium, everyone was running late because Orion was standing at the bottom, greeting everybody personally. And I just looked at Sam and I said, when have you think about the top leaders we've had in our business, when have you ever seen that one person greeting a couple hundred people in your whole life? And sorry, I don't know you yet. I'm Orion. You are Mary from Lithuania. Mary, so nice to meet you. And I just got to the bottom. We sat down in our chairs. And I said, Sam, okay, this is where we need to be. So for me, it's the people. the compensation plan comes second to that. The product comes second to that. Those are extraordinary, but they come second to the fact that these are people that we do want to be in business with.
So Kirsten, you did not make it easier for us. MCs on the directorship. Now it became even harder to introduce you because yeah, it's impossible to copy paste who you are, who you created yourself to be, right?
We don't need to
yeah, we don't need to cut.
but this is a really challenge because you are perfect. MC, I never saw better. Yeah.
Yeah, not perfect, but the one that shines bright and
why not perfect?
Why not perfect? Because then he cannot get better with every day.
No, next time will be perfect more.
Even more perfect. Yeah, well, that's
if you want a nutshell, I love my family more than anything on the planet, and I would do anything for them. I love being involved with Zinzino, and I love the culture, and I love the people that we get to meet and build relationships with and build friendships with. And you know, for me, when you love where you are and you love what you do, that's a powerful thing. Because that it's always going to be work. You can never take that away. But there's some work that you walk into and you're smiling and you're happy to be there, and there's other work where you're dragging yourself to. And I don't see Zinzino as that kind of work. I see Zinzino as there's an ease to it for me. So my family comes first. My team and business comes second. And you know, the whole process of how we work that out is we get better and better in all the things that we're doing in all the facets. But yeah, it's
the third thing is the bridges.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we don't talk about the bridges often. I cry about the bridges, but it's
okay. So thank you. It's gonna be fun in the director trip, and yeah,
I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out, guys. And I mean, here's the thing that you guys have got to know as well. I mean, everybody has a strength or a skill set in what they do. And so there are some people that naturally do better on stage than other people. There are some people that are naturally more enigmatic than other people. But you guys have got a great way of connecting with people. You've got great personalities. And for me, the big thing about it is just remember that you're never going to be me. And I can never be you, but you can be authentically you. And when you operate in your authenticity, that is the more powerful thing than anything on the planet. And I always say to people, you know, I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, Kirsten, if I could just speak like Dexter Yeager, my business would be." He says to them, "No, because you would be a clone of Dexter Yeager. Rather just be the best version of you. Go out there and just shine in your absolute uniqueness." And that's what people are attracted to. So I'm excited to have you guys introducing me. That's fantastic. I think you guys are going to do a great job. I think you do undersell yourselves a little bit. But you know, there's a few couples in this that I've easily identified that I wouldn't mind spending time having a dinner with or traveling across the world with, and you guys are definitely one of them. So I'm excited that I've got somebody that I have some relationship with. And Kesh, you and I have chatted, you know, ad hocly through the last couple of years. So it's always nice when it's somebody that you've interacted with, and when you can just laugh and have some fun. I love it. So you guys are great leaders. I'm in good hands, so you do whatever. I just know that I'm just stoked to be there with you guys.
Okay, thank you, Kirsten. So see you in the director trip.
Yeah.
See you in a couple of weeks, just around the corner. Adios, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.